Hi guys, welcome back and hello if you are new. So I'm changing things up a little bit here. I always thought, maybe you want to see a bit more of my record collection. So I've decided to choose kind of like the first sort of band that came into my mind from A to Z. I'm missing a couple of letters because I don't think I have Q, X or Z, which is pretty tricky. And it is absolutely boiling in the UK here. So if you can hear a fan, there is, my fans are everywhere. So yeah, let's get started. So first up is Sevenfold. So City of Evil is probably, I think, my favourite Avenged Sevenfold album. It's definitely where I kind of like got into the band. And this pressing is I think it's the Zia exclusive pressing, and it's like this red and yellow merge. I had to get my very kind friend Cayman, who we basically became friends on Instagram, to pick this up, and then he shipped it all the way from America for me, and I'm really glad that he did because I love this pressing. And one of the things I think when I want to get an album is I want to get the colour that kind of matches the cover as much as possible, and you can see there's lots of like reds and yellows in here as well, so that's my first choice for A. Next up we have Between the Buried and Me and Colours, only the best modern prog album of all time. And funny story about this one, I found it on eBay when I was in the bath. So I remember it was literally like, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes before the bidding was ending, and I couldn't log in for some reason on the app, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna miss out. But luckily, right at the last minute, I was able to secure this amazing purpley, and you can see sort of like pinks and blues and stuff like that variant, which is from the Victory Records era. I don't actually have the one that they remastered and re-released recently, but yeah, one of my favourite albums of all time, and I think one of the best prog albums. Up next is a absolutely horrendous album cover that is Cannibal Corpse's Violence Unimagined. I absolutely love this record, and I was so gutted when it first got announced on pre-order. I remember literally waiting there all day, and then I had one fucking Zoom call that went on for just a little bit too long, and I missed out on this pressing. But once again, the angels of Instagram, one guy sent me a message basically saying they're back up, so I was able to secure this crazy thing. And I know a lot of people always ask me like, oh my god, how do you have like, the money for such crazy variants and all this sort of stuff? But in all honesty, they're not expensive. You just have to make sure that you're kind of like there the second they get announced, basically. That's probably the biggest thing. That's my pick for C. Up next we have Deafheaven with Ordinary Corrupt Human Love. Absolutely love this record, and I'm kind of noticing a sort of overlying theme here. A lot of these ones that I've picked out are the ones that I've kind of have a bit of an emotional connection with. And I remember with this one, again, I was there literally the second that it went on pre-order. They had so many different variants for this, but this is a gorgeous kind of like turquoise, smoky blue kind of variant. And it was an album that just kind of like I listened to when I was at university. And I have some really like fond memories of just taking the bus home after having like worked really hard that day, and just kind of like relaxing a lot with this album. And it definitely, I think, feeds into Infinite Granite really nicely. And I really love the photo that is on the album's cover, and the art direction is fantastic too. So yeah, one of my favourite bands, Deafheaven. Up next we have Enslaved and Utgard. So one of my actual, I think, last interviews before the pandemic was with Ivar, and it was about this album. It's a really cool album. This is the Nezi Media pressing, by the way, so I'm just trying to take this off carefully. And yeah, I really loved this album. It was almost my album of the year of 2020. There's just a lot of different kind of ideas that Enslaved are kind of playing with here, and I like the fact that it kind of goes down a little bit of the Tangerine Dream kind of route. This is what the pressing looks like. Really lovely white and green kind of thing going on, and I think Nezi Media are 100% one of the best vinyl manufacturers out there. The quality that goes into everything, you know, like the jackets, the LPs itself, absolutely amazing. But yeah, I really like the fact that Utgard is a bit more psychedelic, it's a bit crazy, but still very much quintessentially Enslaved. Oh, how weird. This is another one, which was basically one of the last interviews I did before the pandemic, which is Fit for an Autopsy and The Sea of Tragic Beasts. So, yeah, I met the guys when, what were they doing? They were touring with Thy Art is Murder, Rivers of Nihil, and I Am, I think it was. Absolutely destroyed. And yeah, I really, really love this album. And this is a pressing. Funny story, actually. My good friend Brody, who was on tour with Rivers of Nihil, were touring with Fit for an Autopsy, and I remember seeing this pressing, and I messaged him saying, can you please pick me one up and send it to me? And he did. And this is what it looks like. Absolutely killer pressing. Fit for an Autopsy stuff is just absolutely amazing. I really love this album. I will admit I wasn't always a Fit for an Autopsy fan, but this was the album that definitely changed that. Mirrors is still to this day one of my favourite tracks of theirs. And yeah, really, really, really good album overall. Up next, I picked one of my favourite death metal albums of all time, Gorguts, Coloured Sands. So I found this record actually at Music Fear Satan in Paris on what was Laura and I's first ever holiday together, which was really, really lovely. And the pressing is really, really nice. It's this clear orange splatter from Season of Mist. And I remember buying the album and having to carry it all around Paris that day, and we did like all sorts of like touristy stuff. But yeah, I'm really hoping that we get a new Gorguts album soon, to be fair. I think we're very much long overdue from Pleiades Dust, which I also have on vinyl. But this is, I think, one of the best extreme metal albums of many, many, many years. There's nothing out there that sounds like it, and proves that I think Gorguts are one of the most avant-garde, forward-thinking iterations of death metal. Oh look, what a surprise, more death metal. So for my H pick, I've gone with Horrendous and their album Idol. So Horrendous was a band I remember I discovered literally walking around at Crypt of the Wizard, which is a small kind of record shop in London. And I think they might have been playing it in the shop or something. And I just heard it and I was like, man, this sounds absolutely awesome. Like kind of 80s sort of Metallica style stuff, but with, you know, real sense of melody as well. And this is I think it's Petrol Green, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, my very good friend, Jessica over at Season of Mist sent me this, which is really, really great. I absolutely love this album. Ontological Mysterium is their new album, which is coming out in August. Very, very excited for that one. But what I love about Horrendous is, you know, they kind of have that feel of cynic and atheist and things like that, but they're not actually like a technical death metal band. They are very much kind of like organic, and I really, really love the artwork on this. It looks especially great as a gatefold. So yeah. Up next, we head to New York, into the world of Alphaville, which is Imperial Triumphant's album. And again, this has sort of like a special place for me because I worked it, and it was really, really, really good fun and really successful, and probably one of the most fun campaigns I worked whilst I was at the Noise Cartel. It's this sort of sun yellow, I think that's what it was called, sun yellow variant, which is absolutely beautiful. The artwork by Zbigniew Bielak is absolutely gorgeous, as you can see. I don't know if you guys know, but he did the Ghost album covers as well, and that level of sort of like, you know, intricacy where it comes to the sort of like sketching idea of it, I really loved. Oh yeah, that's a good point actually. If you open it out, that's what it looks like fully as a gatefold. Absolutely incredible band, even nicer people, and yeah, that's my choice for I. And even more death metal. What a surprise. So this album is, I think, one of the most underrated records of all time. Job for a Cowboy, Sun Eater. They're the only band who released the album of their career, didn't even play it. I think they might have played it live maybe twice or something like that. and then basically broke up. I adore this album. It's absolutely incredible. Tony Sanacandro's leads are amazing. It was long out of print on vinyl, and then I think maybe it was like 2021 when they reissued it, and I got this lovely blue-white merge, which again kind of, you know, matches the sea that's here, which I kind of like. Yeah, without a doubt, my favourite For A Cowboy album. Maybe one of the best technical death metal albums of all time. Definitely up there with like Necrophagist and everything. Really, really, really amazing album, and I'm so glad that I finally got it on vinyl. Okay, we're going to get a bit more depressing now. Katatonia's The Fall of Hearts is my choice for K. And I remember this album specifically because I was going through a bit of a hard time. I think it was 2016 it was released. I'd just broken up with a then girlfriend, and I was kind of like, oh, you know, moping around. And then I listened to this, and it was kind of like, oh, well, I don't know. Music kind of sort of helps you get through that sort of stuff. And in that same year, I met my now absolutely wonderful wife. So I'm really, really chuffed about this one. And it always reminds me of that sort of period, and, you know, that sort of sentiment of just carry on, it'll get better. And I love the fact that it's got this sort of like, it's kind of like a wave in it, in the silver, which is cool. So I also think it's one of my favourite, if not my favourite, Katatonia album. Really, really cool. It's where they started to get a little bit more prog as well. And yeah, pretty crazy that it's been issued by the company that I now work for, which is mad. So this one is a bit of a wild card, I think. So if you guys know the band Scale the Summit, then you'll know of a fantastic guitarist called Chris Letchford. And this is, it looks like an infomercial. This is the Lightbox album, which is kind of like a instrumental, jazzy, rock, lounge kind of album. And I found it on Discogs, on this lovely blue colour. I've been looking for this for a really, really, really long time. It's got members of, I think it's Reign of Kindo. And I want to say Travis Levrier is on here as well. No, he is absolutely not. Evan Brewer is. And that's who I got mixed up with. But it's a really nice kind of relaxing chill out album, and one that I have been searching for a long time. So I was really, really stoked when I found this on Discogs. If you're a fan of Scale the Summit, I definitely recommend it. Ooh, we've got to M. M was a hard one, man, because there's so many good bands that start with M, but I think there's one that kind of separates, you know, the wheat from the chaff, and that is Meshuggah. So I chose Koloss. I really, really love the pressing of this album. This is part of like the reissues that Nuclear Blast did in 2020, I think. That's basically how I coped through the pandemic. I just bought loads of records. And it's on this amazing... Actually, no, I think I got this off of someone on Discogs. Anyway, I really like this sort of like brown and grey swirl, because again, it sort of matches the cover. Koloss is actually, I think, a dark horse in Meshuggah's discography, because it's a great record. And I remember when it was released that year, it was definitely one of my favourites. And I like the fact that it's a bit more of a focus on groove, rather than, you know, kind of like the all-out madness that was Obsin. You know, Obsin's kind of like their Rain in Blood, whereas this is a bit more kind of South of Heaven. So, yeah, that's my pick for M. Aha, the first record I ever got, which is Napalm Death's Time Waits for No Slave. So, if I remember right, I think this pressing is red. And it was a... Oh yeah, here we go. 300 copies only, Record Store Day exclusive. I just ended up finding it randomly. I hadn't even bought a record player. It was the first one I bought just on its own. Absolutely, without a doubt, one of the best Napalm Death albums, if not my favourite, I think. There's just so much brutality on this record. And also it was kind of, I think, really the album that sort of showed that I could enjoy Napalm Death, and it wasn't all kind of like lo-fi scum sort of stuff. Because as much as I understand that, you know, and know the reverence of it, I just don't like that level of production. I prefer a bit more sort of meat on the bones. You know, I grew up in like the mid 2000s, so it's all high quality production. So this was the first time that, you know, I thought that Napalm Death really sounded nice and chunky, and the riffs are just absolutely brilliant. And it's my first ever record, so yeah, never going to be departing with this. Next up we have Obscura, with absolutely amazing artwork from Eliran Kantor. They actually did a really cool series where they broke down like the whole sort of album process and all that sort of stuff. It's on YouTube, and I highly recommend that you give it a watch. But this is kind of, you know, significant for multiple reasons, because I guess kind of the biggest one is Christian Muensner is actually back, who is a long-time member of the band. You know, he played with them for a while, then left, and has now come back. And it's on this sort of white, blue, brown, splattery looking thing, which is cool. But yeah, really great album. I like the fact that it almost sounds a little bit at the gates at times. But yeah, definitely kind of continues that sort of crazy, ridiculous technical death metal idea that Obscura have done before, but also the kind of, you know, classic Morbid Angel proper groovers that they're known for. So that is my pick, a Valediction. Oh man, this was a Discogs find, this one. So I kind of went a bit crazy with Discogs, to be honest. I think because I'd never really sort of used it before, and then I realised how much you could actually find out there, but sometimes it got a little bit expensive. And this is an album by Pelican called The Fire in Our Throats Beckons the Thaw. And I first found this record when I was 14, I want to say. And I was sort of, not having the best of time at school. And I think because it's an instrumental record, it kind of, you know, it was just a nice sort of like soundtrack, I guess. And ever since, I always wanted it on vinyl, but it had long been sort of out of print. And I found this gorgeous looking like blue, white, hazy kind of thing. And I feel like it was from like a Hydra Head sale or something like that. Was it Hydra? Is it Hydra Head? I think it's Hydra Head that they're published with. But yeah, absolutely amazing album. Basically what got me into post-metal, post-rock, you know, that sort of different idea of more progressive but kind of down-tuned guitars. Really, really love this band so much. This is a good one. Revocation, Deathless. Again, one of the best modern death metal bands, I think, out there. Here is a very cool poster that came free with it, and it's got the artwork, which I actually want to get tattooed one day. It's definitely one of my favourite Revocation albums. I think maybe the self-titled might just beat it. Although the new one's really, really good. Neverheaven. And I missed out on this because I remember when it first released, I wasn't even collecting vinyl. And it has this beautiful white sort of splodge, I guess. And I have to shout out the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Lee Swain, who, I think I bought this off of on Discogs. And it's made me very, very happy. It's one of my favourite Revocation albums. The solos on here are absolutely insane. And it's an obvious choice for the letter R. Okay, so up next we've got something that I never have trouble doing. Sleep. For those of you who know me, you'll know that I fall asleep everywhere. This album is called The Sciences by Sleep. It came out of nowhere on 420. Woo. And this actually was picked up by a friend of mine called Dylan, who went to see Sleep. I had to miss it, I want to say, because there was something happening, like it was Laura's birthday or I was away, something like that. I've still never seen Sleep. I would really love to see Sleep. Hopefully they do a tour, but their vinyl pressings are kind of legendary, I guess, and quite rare. And especially they always have like the tour edition, which definitely gets, you know, pretty much sold out before the doors are even open. But my good man Dylan queued and got both himself and myself the purple and white kind of pressing here that you can see. And this I think is kind of like really wildly different depending on what pressing you got, because some of them are really kind of like defined and others are a bit more sort of minimalist. But yeah, since then, this, oh yeah, you can kind of see it a little bit more there. But yeah, absolutely brilliant album. Humongous riffs throughout the whole thing. And yeah, definitely a favourite of mine. Ah yes, the band where there's a meme of Jake Gyllenhaal. This is Turnover and Peripheral Vision, one of my absolute favourite albums. I really, 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 really love this record. And I remember at uni, I was writing loads, and it was a really hot day like today, had the fan on and everything. And I listened to this album. It's a really nice sort of like milky clear purple splodge. Front to back, all day, literally all day. The perfect chill out, kind of good vibes, despite all the horrendous lyrics, album. And I absolutely love this band. I was so gutted I missed them. They played here at the Underworld recently, and I think they're playing Outbreak today. But yeah, one of my favourite records. Now we come to You. So obviously I had to choose my dudes in Unto Others with their return after the name change and all that sort of stuff, when they previously released Mana under Idle Hands. Strength, this is a lovely white pressing. Strength is their latest album. They did a sort of EP, kind of, well, I guess like a deluxe version of Strength, you know, which has different tracks which didn't quite make it on the album. But this record is absolutely brilliant and still showcases why Unto Others are, I think, one of the most exciting bands out there in metal at the moment. Ooh. And now we come to V, which is Voidceremony. But you wouldn't have thought. V for Voidceremony. Yeah, so if you guys aren't familiar with this band, they're sort of like a technical death metal band, very reminiscent of Death, cynic kind of vibe, for me personally. But the pressing is absolutely ridiculous. $20 bin, always get it out of the park with their pressings, and once again it matches the album artwork really beautifully. It's got that sort of like, you know, the greens and red hues. I reckon, especially with this album they released this year, that they will definitely be making a bit more of an impact than people think. They're a really, really, really good band, really solid dudes as well, and definitely recommend you guys give this one a listen. Right, Whitechapel, Kin, the sleeper hit for me. I didn't expect to love this album as much as I did, and I remember the first time I heard I Will Find You, it just blew me away. I was just like, wow, you know, the Valley is one of those albums where I really do feel like I screwed up on scoring that, and I should have been more favourable to it. But Kin, for me, I think is even better. And I got I think it was a Kings Road pressing, but it took a while to kind of get here, but I think it was worth the wait. It's a really, really lovely blue and white clear splatter kind of thing going on. But the thing I love about this album is that it's Whitechapel kind of really experimenting with clean vocals and, you know, different guitar tones, and a lot of people kind of said they sounded like Tool, which I thought was kind of not really fair. I think they sound like Whitechapel, you know. Oh yeah, it's got like a little etching on the other side of the disc, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, I think it was my number 2 album of the year when it was released. Absolutely brilliant album. I believe the band are in the studio at the moment, so I'm very excited to see what the next chapter in this is going to be. Oh, and also Gillian Savage, who is Ben Savage, the guitarist's wife, made the cover, which I think is really cool, and it's all like hand painted, and then they scanned it and put it on the artwork. Okay, and this is the last one, because I haven't got anything with Z. I also didn't have anything with X, and I didn't have anything with Q. We end at Yob. And there's a kind of sweet story about this one, to be fair. I think I still even got the note somewhere. I missed out on this pressing when it first was announced. I literally had it in my basket, about to check out, and then my phone died. And I was really, really, really gutted for a good long while, because I think it's one of the nicest pressings of this album. It, for me, kind of has that sort of like spooky, ethereal kind of vibe, you know, on the plastic. And I remember my friend, my good friend, L Triple, Mr. Martin Couto. Oh yeah, it is here. So we were just about to get married, I think, I don't know, maybe two weeks beforehand or something. And little did I know that he'd gone behind my back and spoken to Laura to find out what my address was, because he was able to get an extra copy somehow. I don't know how, because these were like limited to 200. And wrote this little note in there as well, which is so sweet, and basically said, here's your wedding present from me, which I thought was really, really cool. And it really meant a hell of a lot to me. So Martin, if you're watching this, I know you know that you're a dude, but thank you so much. It means a lot. So that's it. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, it'd be great if you could hit that like and subscribe button, and let me know if you want to see more vinyl content. It was hard enough trying to narrow all these down with all of the records that I have. I do think last time I checked it was like 500 albums I've got, so there's plenty more to show you if you guys are interested. But I just thought I'd do something a bit different, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. And let me know what you think in the comments underneath me. All right, take care, my friends.